All right, we're here live. I just went to see the movie Ready Player One a few hours ago. Man, this movie, first I'm going to say, to me, in my opinion, I feel like this movie is up there with Black Panther. Not as far as impact, but I'm telling you, if you've been following this channel and everything that I've talked about the last even 90 days, 2 months or whatever, everything that I've been talking about is in this film. Everything, if you go to the YouTube playlist, if you've seen this movie, go to my YouTube playlist and check out my internet electronic heroin video and the video on internet addiction. Watch that video and how the addiction is how it's manufactured into technology and different things like that intentionally. It is all in this movie. And it's just weird that this movie is not getting good reviews like that. I mean, it has like a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I know Black Panther got like a 95%. But I'm not going to say it's better, but it's definitely up there as far as like futuristic movies. You know what I mean? And to me, it's more, in some ways, it's more realistic in a different way. I don't know. I feel like it's like a campaign. It's going to be one of those movies where people who aren't really up are going to have to reference it and go back maybe like 10 or so years from now. And, I think because of Steven Spielberg's name being attached to it, I think that's going to be part of the reason. And I think that'll help this movie be like a reference guide kind of thing. I think that's why I can see people going back to it. But I know it's late. I'm sorry, but this movie is very slept on. It's very swept under the rug. And people are not giving it, as far as the actual movie, I thought the movie was good. Like I said, I thought it was up there with Black Panther. And I felt that the content that was in the movie is just as relevant. But when you read the reviews, they're going about it in a different way. They're talking about the pop culture references and different things like that. But like I said, if you've been following this channel for the last 2 to 3 months, everything that I've been talking about is in this movie. I didn't know nothing about this movie, and that's how I kind of like to be when I review and watch movies, so I can help form my own opinion a little bit better. So I'm probably going to use spoilers. I'm going to try. I don't know. I'm just going to let it come out. If it comes out, it comes out. But again, this movie, if you don't, like I said, watch my video on internet addiction and electronic heroin in my YouTube playlist. And it's basically everything that I've been talking about is in this movie. In this movie, it takes place in Columbus, Ohio. And basically, the virtual reality world that you hook up right here is basically the real world. And the movie is starting off by saying that it's like where this person lives, this young boy that started film, he lives in like a trailer park cargo home. And the neighborhood is called the Stacks. And it's trailer park on top of trailer park and top of trailer park. That's, obviously that's why it's called the Stacks. But it's a poor community. There's like nothing but trailer parks on top of trailer parks. There's nothing else. And he's basically saying that humanity, we've become so much engaged in the internet and in technology, we didn't care about our problems. We thought our problems would solve themselves. That's a direct quote. And you see that today already, that we already think our problems are going to solve ourselves. We're already addicted to technology and the internet. And, to get out of his place where he lived, he had to It was crazy. He had to like flip down and slide down a pole, and there's cars like stacked up, and he had to go into a different room, and he goes in this virtual reality world, and it's basically a big video game, and he has to learn the video game, and it's a game that everyone is trying to beat, so they can get money, so they can make it out of their area or whatever, and just the neglect of just the neglect that society had for their issues just to be involved in the game is very realistic. And like I said, the book that I will keep referencing is called Irresistible Technology. And see, nobody is talking about this really because it's not, especially in the Black community, it's not really a big issue yet. And that's where some of the most relevant news is, as I keep saying, is that issues that aren't talked about. So the premise of this movie is they have to defeat this game and beat this game. And if they don't, they don't die in real life, but you have to start over. And it's just a big game, the movie. But the people who are controlling the game, they are trying to control the lives of the people who play the game in the real world. Kind of like the Matrix, if that makes sense. How Agent Smith was really trying to kill Neo, or could kill Neo in real life, so to speak, when he was hooked up to the Matrix. So the film, like when they started the game and it was on a go-kart, or they had the racetrack, and for example, like they found out they had to get 3 keys, and the 3 keys would unlock something, and it basically would enable them to, they would beat the game. So the thing is, this goes back to the Irresistible Technology book, when it basically talks about how the games are rigged, like the claw machine game. There was a NASA study that found out that was rigged. The claw only got the teddy bear or whatever a certain amount of times, no matter what you did, where you placed it. It's like, okay, every 30 times we're going to actually make it work. The machine where you can get tickets and light the tickets up, and you push the button to stop the tickets, they found out that was rigged, because you push the button, and even if you push it at the exact same time, the button would land in different places. So that game is rigged also, just like the claw machine game. So the book that I'm talking about, that I've spoken in prior videos, it's telling you that these games are rigged. These Candy Crush games are rigged. These games on Facebook are rigged. It's not designed for you to really win and make it easy like that. And that's because the psychology of this is and the same thing with the casinos, with the slot machines. They said in the book, the slot machines, they play the same music in some slot machines when you lose, and it's the same music when you win. It's the exact same music. So when you lose, psychologically, you're thinking you didn't really lose, because you associate that sound, that music, with winning. So there's that. But basically, the psychology behind it is the almost win is better than the lost. Better than the loss, excuse me. The almost win is better than just losing. So they have to make it very difficult. They have to make it like where you won't die so fast, but it has to be very difficult to beat the boss and to succeed at the end of the game. So that's how, this movie, there was 3 levels. The first level, there was basically an impossible race. No matter how far you got, nobody won the race or anything like that. And, it was just crazy stuff coming out, like King Kong or whatever, dinosaurs, whatever was going on. Dinosaurs, they were stopping people coming in the middle of the racetrack, and it was just basically impossible. Nobody could win. So what would happen is the star of the movie, he went to he basically got like he went back to some old videos of the person who created this big virtual reality. And he basically said he found out, basically, he left a hint, but he had to read between the lines. And he heard that he said, you got to drive backwards really fast. So the next race, everyone goes forward. They're racing the race regularly. The star, he decides to drive backwards very fast. And what happens is there's a ramp. He goes down the ramp and it's like an underground. Then he drives forward and he's saying like everything happened through the glass. And it's like everything that happened before, he sees it, but he's underground where he's protected. And it's like kind of like a cheat code where he wins. And it's those kind of things that let you know what I mean? Like it's rigged. Like nobody would figure out to go backwards in a race. It's a race. Nobody ever goes backwards in a race. So that is it's just a very deep movie, and people are gonna sleep on it. People are gonna sleep on it. People are sleeping on this topic, this conversation right now. People, and I'm not saying there aren't important issues, but I'm telling you, with the 5G stuff coming out and the Wi-Fi radiation stuff coming out, how Wi-Fi, how they're trying to suppress dangerous information, correlated to Wi-Fi usage, Wi-Fi radiation. They're suppressing the information. So when you have a futuristic movie where people basically were so obsessed with technology that it destroyed their areas, their cities, and they can't break the addiction and the habit. Like this is why this is important, because it's like the media they're going to show you the police stuff, the stuff that's obvious, but it's people don't get it, man. People don't get it. People don't get it. It's not good, because the people will complain about the media, the same media they complain about, they'll watch it, but they'll never get these kind of in-depth conversations. And, as much as we want to think, well, we're social media, we're alternative news, people still report mostly what the news reports at the end of the day, because these local issues that are just as important as anything, people don't really follow them or pay attention to them. So that's how you know that firsthand. But like, I'm not trying to get off track, but the addiction to technology, the virtual reality world, the obsession with it, and long story short, the who created the game, a common phrase was him saying that people were repeating a phrase he said, that the creator that hated his creation. And that really reminds me of the Stephen Hawking's quote, or not a quote, but a quote where he talked his last big summit, and he was basically saying that the artificial intelligence. What if somebody creates a virus that has artificial intelligence? Like, that's gonna be very, very bad. So we have to think about, because I went to school for computer science, so I understand. I didn't finish, of course, by choice, but I understand even on an entry level, before apps and stuff existed, I understand on the entry level, like the mind of a programmer, how you have to program, how you have to account for every possibility so the program doesn't mess up and you don't have to keep updating it or bugs. So I understand the mentality that it takes to do this. And that is the whole point in talking about internet addiction, and why this movie is going to get overlooked, because people don't understand the thought that goes into creating Facebook, creating Candy Crush, creating the games that people play, how they keep everyone addicted. There's a method to it. And the method, if you people watch this movie and then you watch the video I did on internet addiction, you'll clearly see it's the same exact methods. One of the most important methods, as I said earlier, is the almost win is better than a bad loss. So you will always get close. You will always do good till you get to the end. And, you know, that played out in this movie a lot, where in the game they were doing good and they would get close and they would have to start over. And it's just like with the slot machines, it's just like, you know, you may get 2 out of 3, or you may get 1.5 out of 3, or 2.5 out of 3 of the slot machines. That claw machine is rigged. It's only worked at certain times. All these games are rigged. Even the old school games to the apps now, it's proven that it's rigged. So that same thought, that same mentality goes into creating Facebook. It goes into the YouTube algorithm. That's why I called it, when I said the YouTube shooter was a YouTube creator, because I have an amateur programming experience, but I'm a YouTube creator, so I know the algorithm is difficult. And you people are already becoming upset at the technology. But see, this is not like a trending topic yet. But this is really, like, this will be talked about in the future. You're going to see more and more people that become obsessed and addicted to this technology react violently or neglect, you know, their lives. And I mean, it's already happening, where that book, the book is Irresistible Technology. That's the book that I referenced for my internet addiction video on my YouTube playlist. And they talked about Candy Crush, the Kardashian game. All of these elements are, like, the people that program, they know all of these elements to keep people addicted. So it's I know racism is important. I know we want to get reparations. I know we need to have the fathers back in their homes, and we need to have, you know, better families, and we need to stop voting Democrat. We need to, you know, stop depending on the government as much. Like, I know all of these issues exist, and I touch on all of these issues, some more than others. But, oh man, if people don't become aware and we start this conversation, and I got sidetracked. So the creator of the virtual reality thing, he had died, but you could still interact with him through the game. So of course the person gets to the end of the game, and what happens is he gets to the end of the game, and the person who created the game is saying, basically, this is BS. Like, this should not consume all of your time. And you know what I mean? I can't remember it verbatim, but that's kind of along the lines where it wasn't the reward that he thought. Because, yeah, you got to see it. I don't want to complicate it, but it wasn't what he thought as far as the satisfaction he got, that he thought he would get, or everyone thought he would got. It was just like, oh, okay, I beat it. And he went, you know, you didn't see him really have any outside life outside of this virtual reality game, or anyone really for that matter. So it was good to see after he beat the levels or whatever at the end, and he's with the girl that he wanted, and, you know, they're hugged up, and he says, the game was called Oasis. He said, we only play it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays or something, or we don't play it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Basically, the point was they take a break. They've learned to take a break from this and value real life. And that was the whole point of the film, is that you know, is very, and that's why the film is good, because 99% of the film was about the game, and then the 1% at the end talked about, basically said, hey, like, you have to, what about real life? And another thing, in a movie, a lot of people, they weren't themselves. They had a different name, like an avatar, and they were like trying not to use their names at first, and they're like, hey, don't say your name, don't, just use the fake name. Like that disconnect, like that parallels social media, how, you know and people had been friends for a while on there, and they like, we never met these people, they don't really know anything about us outside of this virtual reality. And you might get caught up in the graphics and things like that, but it's really no different than Facebook. But the movie, if you get caught up in the graphics and stuff, it might take your mind off of it. But the fact, in the movie, people were avatars, they were not themselves in the virtual reality. People wanted to keep their identities hidden. It was one person that was a big 6.6 feet and a half, about 6'5" man in a virtual reality, but when they found out it was a black woman, and they were like, I thought you were like a big fat white dude or something, and it turned out to be a black woman. Like, so, and that parallels how people come up with different accounts, and people hide or put on a facade on social media on who they really are. So, like I said, this film, man, I don't care. I enjoyed the film. And I know I enjoyed it because a lot of stuff that I've been talking about recently is in the film. And I could keep talking about it, but it just came out, I think, yesterday. So it's Saturday night. I just saw it. I think the fact that it's almost like once it becomes talked about in the news, it's already almost too late, so to speak. And with our attention span being so short and fast, it's like, how much time will people give it anyway to really develop a understanding to be able to do something constructive anyway? You know what I mean? So it's it's very, very it's deep, man. To me, this it almost feels like proto recall, like Total Recall. It's not as dark and graphic as Total Recall, but as far as the future and different things like that, it was very Total Recallish. And people are gonna sleep on this movie, man. But this movie, the script was good, just like even the actual movie. Like, the script was good, the acting was decent, the love story kind of was, but it was like right before it would drag on too long, they kind of got back to work. So that wasn't really too big of an issue. Even though you could see it coming, like, if they keep this love story going on, then it's definitely going to mess up the film. But it was about 2.5 hours. It flowed pretty good. And I was impressed. I wasn't expecting anything really. And even like with the commercials, it doesn't really, like, I would say it's a film that the graphics and the special effects, to the average person, it would take away from how deep the message is. And I know people get it as far as, how animated stories and movies have a deep, meaningful message, but I don't know any animated or whatever movies that deal with technology on this kind of level and still bridges like the humanity aspect into it. Like, we can basically, technology can and has ruined our lives. some people. And it was just so many parallels in the movie. And, but if you haven't really looked into why technology is addictive, like the actual techniques and the mechanics and how it affects people, then I don't think you'll appreciate this movie. But if, like I said, if you watch my video on it, then, you probably will. So I'm trying to think. It was a lot of other things in the film. I'm trying to think if there's something I'm forgetting. Oh, man. I think that's it. But I definitely recommend you go see it. If not, wait till it comes out on DVD or whatever. But you have to definitely educate yourself on technology, how it's being consumed by the masses, and how it's designed. Because there's a intent behind algorithms. There's an intent. There's a reason why everyone is on Facebook. There's a reason why everyone is on YouTube. It's not just because it's cool or you can get in touch with people. Like, that's not the reason why everybody is on Facebook and YouTube. It's purposefully designed to be addictive. It's purposefully designed that way. And like I said in the earlier examples, it's been designed that way for a while, as far as like old games and carnival games or games in the arcade and stuff. Like, it's been designed that way. And, it takes advantage of us wanting to be validated. It takes advantage of people want validation. It takes advantage of our dopamine receptors, different things like that. Like, technology takes advantage of all of this. So it's very important that people see how and the mechanics of why technology is addictive, how that addiction affects your body, which we talked about last Sunday with the 5G Wi-Fi radiation, how they're suppressing that information. Because when this stuff gets out to the news and then the news talks about it, it's going to be too late, because it's already too late right now. Because people aren't really, it's like, it's not violent enough. Like they say, if it bleeds, it leads. Like, it's entertaining to talk about, but it's not entertaining to visualize. So you can't make a GIF or a picture or video, that's as intriguing as a cop shooting or, something violent. But Wi-Fi radiation, there's everything. It's like it becomes suppressed for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and then it becomes too late. And right now, we're all being warned of Wi-Fi radiation. We're all warning people of the dangers of Wi-Fi radiation. And the studies are out there. Like, there's thousands of studies of cell phone radiation being dangerous dating back to the 80s. But they didn't let this information out. And there wasn't social media or anything. So, I'm sure that played a role in it. But this stuff, we can catch on and jump on it now. People are going to have to become self-disciplined and prioritize time off of technology. That's just the only way you're going to make it. And it's just really another issue. And it's not the people's fault, but it's really just another issue on top of police brutality, on top of, racism, on top of us getting our economic and developing generational wealth and, bridging the gap for our families to create a better family structure. It's just really another issue. And that could be part of the reason why, but it's very, very dangerous because Wi-Fi radiation is very real. Internet addiction is very real. As I said, China has internet addiction rehab facilities. They have hundreds of them in China, and there's one in Washington. So it's not like an isolated, oh, these are weird Chinese people who, don't know how to talk to women and are introverts. No, this is happening right here in America, and it's becoming worse and worse. And that's why the very first scene of the film, they say, basically things got so bad because people were addicted to technology. They neglected all of their real problems. So that's why it was so dirty. That's why it was trailer parks on top of trailer parks on top of trailer parks in the first film. And there was no real energy or anything amongst the people. Everything was dirty and, not organized and everything because technology became the priority. And it's really like that already. It's just, it looks neater. You know what I mean? Like our neighborhoods aren't there yet, but some neighborhoods are. I've shown some stuff from East Cleveland. Like there's neighborhoods here that look just like futuristic sci-fi movies. And I'm sure it's like that in the other neighborhoods across the country. And that's where the fourth world term comes in, where it's a country or a city or area that looks like third world conditions, but it's in a quote unquote developing country. But again, this movie, you have to watch it. If you watch this movie, you have to watch all of the videos on my artificial intelligence playlist, because the person who created the game in this movie, he's telling you, the creator that hated his creation, he created this thing that everyone fell in love with, and eventually he grew to hate it because people became too obsessed with it, and it basically destroyed and took over people's lives. Isn't that what's happening with Facebook today? Like that's what's going on right now. But this movie is taking place in 2045, and it's really not hard to see because I was doing the math while I was watching the film in my head, and I'm like, well, okay, 2 years is 2020. That's only 27 more years. I mean, it could look like this. Think about 27 years ago. There was no internet. There was no, none of this stuff. There was no self-driving cars. There was no cell phones where you could get on the internet. Like none of that stuff existed. So if all of this can happen in 27 years, if you look at the movie, that 27 years isn't too far off. Yes, Don Thomas, it is seductive. So that's why this channel, we cover the hard-hitting racist topics. We cover a broad range. That's why we promote independent thinking, because some of these topics, some people might think they're not relevant yet. They might think they're not worth discussing. They might think they're not a priority. And that is the power of news. It is to try to make you understand something that's relevant that you don't think is relevant. That's really where news has its power. Because if they're able to keep the wool over your eyes and different things like that and keep us distracted. Oh, that's another thing I forgot. There was a club in the game, in the virtual reality. The club was called the Distracted Globe. That was the name of the club, the Distracted Globe. So the subliminal messages in this film, I mean, it's obvious. So people have to, I can do a number of videos and give people reference points to certain books where people can educate themselves on these issues, and then you'll see, well, that's why I stay on the internet so long, or that's why I feel tired when I'm on a computer, or that's why I have energy when I turn off my Wi-Fi, or when I turn off my Bluetooth, or that's why I feel more relaxed when I turn off my internet, because, you know, these things keep happening because of the radiation and different things like that. So I recommend, if people can, to see the movie. It's not, like I said, I enjoyed it almost just as much as Black Panther. I thought it was that damn good. And I mean, it's not going to have the same impact, obviously, as far as what it did for the Black community and making people, you know, become prideful. Hopefully for the long term, not just for the duration of the movie. But I think it's just as relevant because technology affects all of us, and technology, you know, is the future as far as science and engineering and becoming, you know, understanding. Part of the game is like we have to be ahead of the curve, and that's the purpose of this channel. We don't want to wait until, oh, well, this affects us and we, you know, it's too late. Like, that's why the title I put, I warned y'all, because these videos are warnings. These videos are to educate people. If you know, if you know not only who the enemy is, but how the enemy is moving. If you know, like, okay, this is designed, not just like the intention as far as they want your money, they want your time, but if you understand the mechanics on how they want to keep you engaged, then you're ahead of the game, because then you can break it down like, okay, when they make it hard at the end, they're focusing on, as I keep saying, the almost win. The almost win is probably the number one thing that keeps people addictive to games or whatever. These Candy Crush games, whatever these, there'll be another big game. Candy Crush might not be as popular as it used to be, but there'll be another app that'll catch on. And, you know, as it was shown in the movie, it's very hard to develop social skills. And, you know, people don't have the social skills like they used to because of this technology. And, you know, at the end, the people in the community, they came together and, you know, they said they were going to take breaks from the internet, the main two stars of the film. So that should tell you everything they want to know. And that's an important part, because the creator of this game in the movie, he ended up regretting, I guess, creating the game because so many people got addicted to it. When you read the book that I keep referencing, Irresistible Technology, the first thing they tell you is that Steve Jobs doesn't really like using computers and technology. I don't think Steve Jobs really used his own products like that. I think they talked about Bill Gates like that. So you constantly see a common theme is the people who create these technology or whatever that everyone becomes addicted to, they don't really use them. They're not really addicted to them, but everyone else is. And they referenced several people who created apps, and the people were leaving comments saying, I can't quit playing this game. It's so addictive. It's so addictive. And they were saying how some of the people, they made millions of dollars in just a few weeks or whatever from people buying these apps, but they started feeling guilty. A lot of these people feel guilty for making these apps. And when people become addicted to it, it's like the guilt in them forces them to delete the app. They're like, well, I like the money, but these people are saying they haven't washed up and they're neglecting their family life or whatever just to play these games. Like, that's not what I intended this game to do. So, and that's maybe a deeper conversation for another time as to why do we have these addictive personalities? How do we reshape our culture to have productive yet equally satisfying addictions that are not detrimental? The electric grid goes down, then what? Chaos. Yes, that's true. Complete chaos. So it has to be a balance, and people have to get the self-discipline, and because this is the thing that, like, before this social media and stuff, like, we would just listen to music and watch movies and play outside and play sports. Like, now I don't really see people play outside that much like we did. But now it's like a whole nother world, like the internet, virtual reality. Like, if you see this movie, you're seeing the movie. It's like a whole nother. It's like if obsession takes a life of its own. Like, obsession is it's like an organism, like a parasite. But it's like, if this obsession that's a parasite, if it has its own life, like if this parasite actually grows into something bigger, and it's like, that's what these possibilities are. So I'm gonna get ready to go. It's 12:30 almost. I want to keep people up, but just letting people know the Ready Player One movie, I didn't have any expectations, but I thought it was good. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 just off the first watch. And a lot of things that I've been talking about the last few months are in this movie. If you watch my artificial intelligence playlist, specifically the video on internet addiction, you see a lot of the mechanics play out in this film. A lot of things, the mechanics that keep people addicted, purposefully, intentionally, play out in this film to the T. Exactly how I'm saying. So, me doing all of these videos on artificial intelligence, and then just Sunday, the big story that's really not even being talked about anywhere on Facebook as far as like groups and stuff. But the video that the live that I did Sunday on the 5G internet being, the 5G Wi-Fi radiation being dangerous, and how that information is intentionally being suppressed. And then this movie. So watch the internet addiction video I did. Watch my Wi-Fi radiation video I did Sunday. And then if you can, take the movie. You can take a young person. They enjoyed the movie. I took my cousin's son. He's like 11. He enjoyed the movie a lot too. So it's a lot of, you take those three things, the last two, the internet addiction videos, the live on the Wi-Fi, and this movie, you definitely have like a conversation starter or a builder, something with people. And it's like, people, I don't know. I feel like this is going to like separate people even more, create more division, because people, I think it's just best, what I like to do is make people aware of the methods, because I can tell people, well, cut back on this, but if that's why the videos are important. If you see the video and you see, okay, these are the methods. These are the psychological methods that are done to keep you engaged. Then that's when it usually clicks with people. Because the very first, he had to get 3 keys. There was 3 different levels in this movie. The very first level, he came close to winning, and it was something came out of nowhere, and he didn't win. And people have been trying to win that game for years. Him and a couple people came close. And I just was talking about the almost win. If you understand the almost win, then you'll get there. You're like almost there because you won't get caught up in the emotions. If you're getting the almost win, if you're attached to that, then that's when you keep spending the money. That's how they get you hooked. But if you observe yourself, then you'll see, well, this is why I keep playing. I want to win, but why do I keep wanting to win? And what else can I do? So when he stopped and observed and he went back, he found something out. He found out he had to go backwards in reverse to win a race. So that's the second thing. You have to understand it's rigged. It's an algorithm. Someone created this stuff. So the first thing you have to understand is the almost win. Then you have to understand that it's rigged. Yes, because the casinos, I was saying earlier, they were saying in the Irresistible Technology book, they play the same music when you win and the same music when you lose in some of the casinos. So they're saying that when you lose, you don't really think that you lost because your mind is associating the music with winning once you won. You know what I mean? So it's a very deep science, and it's fairly new. Because I mean, I don't even think Facebook may be 10 years old, if that. I don't know. So that's not new, but it's still it hasn't been around as long as smoking or Wi-Fi radiation or different things like that. So these topics aren't catching on yet. But the sad part is I don't want to say a lot of lives are going to be lost until people catch on, but it just seems to work that way. A lot of bad things have to happen. They don't have to, but it seems like that's the only time we really pay attention. And I don't know, man. People, like, once you know this stuff, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm able to see in different situations this is rigged. Like the YouTube shooter, she was upset. Like once people start becoming upset with this stuff, and because people are already obsessed. So once that obsession reaches a level where people react violently, that's when it's gonna get bad. So this YouTube shooting is just really the tip of the iceberg, because, and the thing is, the news stories, that's why the angle I chose when I did that video is she was a victim of the Matrix and she was addicted to goals and she got caught up in the almost win. I guess she had a decent YouTube channel. She had been on national television in the country. Could it be part of the depopulation plan? I wouldn't doubt it. Because I think there's a lot of studies that show that cell phone usage and probably even Wi-Fi radiation, like it decreases sperm count. Like if it's in your pocket a lot of different things like that. So that right there is depopulation. In the film, the people were hiding their identities. When they were in a virtual reality, they were different people, had different names. So the lack of social interaction, if people aren't interacting as much socially, you could say that's a depopulation. So that's the second one. So it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. And I just feel like the main part of the plan, like the club was called, was the distraction globe. Because if everybody stopped using the internet, and not stop using the internet, that's not going to happen. But if people cut back, and the thing is, the more politically correct we become, the worse things are going to get, because if you can't ever really say, well, stop using that without somebody becoming offended, it's like, well, damn, at what point am I supposed to say something? It's already saying it's bad for you. I can't say anything about it. So it's just, oh man, it's just so many avenues and so many ways this stuff is hitting. Like it's like an octopus. Like it's so many, like you said, I didn't even think of depopulation, but that's definitely a possibility. That's probably already happening. But yeah, I'm getting ready to get out of here. 51 minutes. I'm getting tired. But yeah, definitely everybody, I think the movie is worth a watch. Watch with an open mind. Try to just see the subliminal and read between the lines of the film. Don't take it too literally as far as, whatever. But if you keep in mind, like, why is everybody addicted to this? How are people getting addicted to this? And why is the person who created this game, why is he upset about it? Why is he basically denouncing it, the person who created it? And then the only person who beat the game, why does he say at the end he wants to take a break? He takes 2 days off from playing the game now. He's not addicted as he used to be. So to me, those are the main takeaways of the film. So I'm out of here. Everybody have a good night, a good weekend, and all right.